Hello, this is Martha, and I'm so excited to be working on our Project Pack 7, the 12 Days of Zentangle series. We have some beautiful gray tiles and some luscious blues and golds to play with. I'm going to have you select one of the square gray tiles. I'm going to start out with this beautiful blue Micron 01. We're going to be working in a spiral today, or maybe more directly outside of a spiral. I love spirals, and I often just gravitate towards those round, curving shapes. I'm keeping it relatively open. Like that. And now we're going to do something fun with this spiral. I'm going to, in a way, retrace it, but I'm only allowing myself to use straight lines. So starting at the tip, of course I can't curve, so I would just draw straight that way. And turning my tile, I'll do the same. What happens is we get this fun, newly drawn spiral with angles and curves all alike. And yours is not going to look like mine. All right, I'm going to put this color pen down for a while and pick up the other pen that you have in your pack, which is a much darker inky blue PN. Starting with this first intersection, I'm going to draw a petal shape much like the Tangle fife. And I'm simply going to continue to draw them, converging on the point, varying their lengths, and layering them in between each other. Much like the petals of a flower, until I can't draw anymore. So you see, I've purposely made them some skinnier, some fatter, some longer. And each place along my spiral, along the outside, where I have a point, I'm going to do the same. So I'll start a new cluster of petals here. Turning my tile this way and that. I'm purposely drawing nice open shapes so that we have some room to play with some of our other tools when we're done. As my spiral unwinds, I have more room, and so I'll react to that. Sometimes my petals will overlap. In fact, I love it when they do. You see how we're working along the outside rim of our spiral where we almost always work on the inside. It's kind of different. Here, some of my petals might be growing beyond this little garden, but I know they're there. Such a comfortable shape to draw. Sometimes having these simple strokes allows us to get into that, I suppose, meditative state, or a state where you're just not concerned about much else other than these beautiful shapes. Like playing a song on the radio that you know the words to. Somehow more enjoyable than the first time you hear a song. Our petals now sort of resembling the spokes of our spiral, although we didn't draw them the same way. There. So we have these beautiful flowering petals growing along, and they're looking a little lonely, I think. So what we should do is, I'm going to switch back to my other blue pen, my blue micron pen. So with this blue pen, I'm going to just add a little detail to these petals. Very simple, just a little edge right down the point. Reminds me of an artichoke even. Love artichokes. We used to, as kids, always get an artichoke in our Easter baskets, which we thought was absolutely fabulous. It was a total treat. And who needs chocolate bunnies when you can have a steamed artichoke with lemon butter? Yum. So next I'm going to add some orbs to nestle in to our petals. I'm going to start layering them in here and there. Beautiful orbs of different sizes. As if these beautiful floating bubbles have just landed on our leaves. Some small bubbles. Or you can fill in these spaces here if you choose. Sometimes it helps to sit back and look at the overall composition and see where your bubbles should land or how big they should be. I'm using a fairly light touch on my pen, but you can play around with even just the length of time that you leave that pen on the paper, drawing more slowly, get a deeper, darker line. I'm really enjoying these blues and how they have a much softer feeling, of course, than black pen that we're so used to working with. Working my way around all these bubbles, landing perfectly, imperfectly amongst my flowers here. It's quite possible that some of these bubbles will escape, perhaps. There's a few here and there. Rogue bubbles. There. So we have a white number 10 Jelly Roll pen in our kit. And I thought, why not highlight these bubbles and bring them to life? So here we go. We'll fill in all these little bubbles. And this number 10 pen flows so beautifully with just the lightest touch. It really pops on this gray paper. Some of the small ones, you just need to touch the paper just ever so slightly. Being mindful of where you put your hands. There is a little bit of drying time. You want to be careful. Love those little escapees there. Okay, so we need to let these white bubbles dry just for a minute. So once your tile is dry, you can kind of test it. With the charcoal pencil, I'm going to gently, with the edge of my point, put a little graphite on either point of the petal. You see that? And I'll just work on this one flower and show you what I'm talking about. With my tortillon, gently smooth, being very careful to leave that space in the center open. And of course, with the graphite, we can always go back and add more later on. And with the white charcoal, I'm going to go in and fill most of the space that's left. But I'm going to leave a little bit of room for some blue, like that. And with one of your clean tortillons, I'm just going to gently work that into the paper. And you can play around with it as you go. Some of your petals might have more white or more blue. And the variation would probably add to the whole composition. The blue can go over the white a little bit. And gently blending it. There. So off we go, around and around our spiral, playing around with amounts of graphite and chalk and balancing however you see fit on your tile. You can do all of your graphite and then all of your color, or work with each one. Makes no difference. It's kind of fun to see it come to life, so I don't know if I could wait and do the whole tile. I think I like working on each one. You can see now why we worked with wide open tangling to give us this room to really put down some beautiful color. You can also play around with putting your white down first. Maybe that gives you a different perspective on where you're going to place your shading and your highlighting. You'll notice that the white charcoal doesn't really need much encouragement to get into that paper. The blue kind of is asking for a little more attention. Adding that dark charcoal makes the white whiter and the blue bluer. In the end, I think I decided that I like putting the white down first and working my way around the space that the white left behind. I love how the blue and the white blend together. When we first started experimenting on these gray tiles, you know, one would think, so what's so different about something that's not even far off from white? But the tones invite this layering, this playing that we're doing so gracefully. Subtle, gentle tones. Enhancing each other instead of competing for attention. One of the things I was thinking is perhaps the petals have disappeared a bit. And if you wanted to, you could go back with your micron and redefine them. Again, layering with a very light touch is all you need. this simple gesture of retracing your own line, it really cradles that color that we just carefully put down. There. So we have a considerable amount of white space left around us here. And I've been playing around with these 3 pencils that we have here. And I found that if you randomly layer them around, you can create a really beautiful sort of cloud-like element. And since we have a nice wide open space, I thought we would try it here. So I'm going to be just going back and forth. And I was light with the graphite, but I'm really putting a lot of white down. Really working that chalk into the paper. And I'm sort of hovering around the edges of my tangling. Show you, I'll add a little blue here. And then just start playing around with the tortillon. I'm going to just smooth out the graphite first. Really gets dark in there quickly. And be sure to blur my edges. And then with one of my cleaner tortillons, I'm going to start blending the blue and the white. Again, this is going to be a back and forth layering of dark clouds and blue sky. There is no right or wrong here in this process. We're just having fun. We're just covering some space in the background. So I've been laying down all this chalk and graphite, and now I am kind of re-emphasizing where I have the white. And again, the contrast of color bringing out the other elements even more. Like a cloudy morning at the beach that's just bursting to become a sunny day. When you get to a point with your chalk pencil where it's sort of flattened out, you can really work it into the paper. So many fun layers here. So a couple of more things that I thought would be fun to, before we finish up, kind of flopping back to our blue micron. I think this original kind of wonky spiral could use a little excitement, if you will. And so I'm just going to add a simple Knightsbridge, a checkerboard. And I like to start in the middle. And then work my way out to the sides. I could have done this at the beginning, of course, but often when you're tangling, you don't really know where you're going, and I wasn't sure what would be appropriate for this. We have so many fun tools in this project pack. You could color it all in one color. You could use a different color. We have some jelly rolls that you could play with. You could fill it with more orbs or some stripes. I'm so glad we added this at the end because this lighter blue now sort of brings out those halos in our bubbles. They were getting a little lost with all that's going on here. And this wonderful spiral was where it all started, so I think it's important that we draw some attention to it. And I think because we have it and it's so much fun and it's festive, let's use this fun, luscious gold jelly roll and just add some sparkling, glowing orbs, different sizes, different orientations, just a texture, a background texture, a sparkle. Your pen will guide you where it wants to go, filling in a space that perhaps wasn't blended all the way. Holding your tile away from you and assessing where the next sparkle should go. I think I like this cloudy background, so I'll keep these sparkles kind of nestled close by here around the perimeter. And make sure you vary the shape and size so they don't totally disappear, but each one demanding a little bit of attention. Even on top of this chalk and graphite, the gold is very, very easy to work with. One could easily get carried away, but you can decide when is the right time to stop. Well, I think we've done a good job using the full array of all these fun tools that came in the Project Pack 7. Thank you so much for your patience and your trust. And I was wanting to share with you just a few other tiles that I did on these beautiful gray tiles, just for some ideas. Wide open tangling gives you that space to play around with the shading. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing what everybody does on Mosaic. Show me all of your tiles. I think it's so amazing that we can be in different parts of the world and share our work and appreciate. Be well. Bye-bye.